Okay, so this week it was announced that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is coming to Game Pass. It'll be their day and date on launch day. A lot of controversy about whether this would actually happen, owing to the gigantic financial outlay that goes onto any given Call of Duty game. There's been a lot of controversy about whether this is essentially hobbling the franchise in terms of being like this massive moneymaker. And but no, Microsoft have come out. They've unambiguously stated it's going to be launch day. You'll be able to play Black Ops 6, which is very, very interesting. Now the discussion has moved on to, well, they're going to hike the price of Game Pass. But even so, we've got this question here from Tamarator. Hi, DF gentlemen. Do you believe that the Game Pass model is sustainable in the long term? We're already seeing video streaming services racing to the bottom, and videos are cheaper and easier to produce compared to games. Do you think it's a good strategy for Microsoft to put all of its eggs into the Game Pass basket? Interesting question, right, John? Because I don't think it's a question of whether they could afford to do it, because they can afford to do it. I'm not even sure it's a question of sustainability. It's a question of growth. They need to be bringing in Game Pass subscribers to actually justify the fact that they just spaffed $70 billion on Activision Blizzard King. What do you make of this whole scenario? I mean, it's potentially great, right? I mean, you were talking on Twitter the other day. Sorry, X. No, Twitter.
What? No, Twitter.
You were talking on Twitter the other day that, you love the campaign when it's good.
When it's good.
When it's good. And you're not so enamored with the multiplayer. So, it is typically a short but sweet experience.
Yeah.
And now, you just get to play it on Game Pass, and that's great. But
yeah, I used to, I would usually wait and purchase it like on a sale or something, usually after launch, of course, just so I could play the campaign. Because I can't justify full price for these games because I don't play the multiplayer really. But I do enjoy this big dumb campaigns sometimes. They can be fun, especially something like Infinite Warfare was really good. That might have been my favorite campaign in the series. But last year was not so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is actually personally good for me because it is a way to get what I want out of this series without having to pay extra for it. Basically, it's just like part of that. And it's such a big series that I don't feel bad about it either. Like usually if I like a game that's on Game Pass and it doesn't feel like it's been a huge hit, I would rather just go buy the disc version then.
Right.
Like I mostly use Game Pass these days as a method for sampling games to see, do I like this or do I not like this? I don't like to commit to play through games on Game Pass much, because I've had cases where I would start something and then, like a long game and maybe put it down for a while and then I come back and it's no longer on the service. And then I feel irritated by that and I just don't want to think about that. So if I really like something, I'm just going to buy it. But in this case, these are short. It's one and done kind of thing. So I'm happy to just jump in there and play through it in a couple afternoons and have a good old time. I'm curious to see how, like you said, I think Microsoft can afford this, but do they want to? Because a lot of the moves they've made lately make it seem like the management above Xbox is suddenly like, okay, you guys need to make money now. Like really make money, like proper Microsoft money. And
yeah, I mean that's kind of been the sort of messaging that we've kind of inferred from comments from Satya Nadella. So yeah, it has been announced that Phil Spencer is going to be having an interview at IGN Live, which is like next week. So this is actually an opportunity for Microsoft to come out and overtly address stuff like why Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin were shuttered. What is the deal with Game Pass? Is it all financially sustainable to bring in, games from a $70 billion acquisition onto a subscription service? I think, there's a lot of dimensions to Call of Duty and its revenue streams that we're probably not thinking about. The obvious one, MTX,
yeah, that makes a lot of money.
microtransactions, and the fact that, the PlayStation owners, I don't think they're going to be buying an Xbox or a PC to play Call of Duty. They'll just buy the game.
like
Right.
they've always done before.
If they have a PC, they might get the PC version on Game Pass, maybe. But
Yeah,
maybe.
possibly.
I don't. I think it'll see maybe a small uptick in Xbox sales, but probably not like huge.
I think the key indicator, which it's unsure whether we'll get any sort of numbers at all on it, is the uplift to Game Pass.
Yeah, no, that'll be interesting for sure. That I think, man, it almost feels like it might have a bigger impact on Game Pass for PC because the thing about Call of Duty is like I think most people that play it are in it for the multiplayer stuff, right? And they're there because they're playing with their friends on their platform of choice. So Xbox gamers are going to keep playing with their Xbox friends, PS5, PC. They're sticking with the crew that they play with, I'd imagine, and they're just going to play wherever. So on PC, I could see more people being like, well, I'll just do the Game Pass thing then and just do it that way. Same on Xbox. And then I don't think PlayStation users would necessarily convert. Those buy it as normal, one would think. I assume Microsoft would like to find a balance of like, yeah, they see a big uptick in Game Pass subs, but then also plenty of people just buy it at full price anyway.
They kind of win either way, maybe. You know what I mean? Like they get you in there.
The question is, though, is like these games are so expensive to make. And
Yeah.
I know Microsoft can technically afford it, but is Satya going to want to fund all this? Are they going to be able to make up for that with the sub stuff? Like, can they actually reach the number of subs necessary to offset this?
Mm-hmm.
They've got to basically justify the investment. That's the bottom line. There's got to be a substantial increase in Game Pass subscribers to actually say, right,
That
okay.
and, the MTX stuff needs to do as well as you might think it would. Like, there needs to be, there's all those different revenue aspects, I guess, that come into it. But
Yeah.
is the problem with this, I guess not problem, the risk is that if the strategy doesn't work and they realize this is not sustainable, you kind of can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? If you're like, okay, no longer on Game Pass going forward, that's not going to work. That's going to make people very angry. And so I feel like they're taking a big shot here. And if it doesn't work, that could be troublesome for them.
Interesting. Yeah.
Anything else to add, Alex?
No, I was just thinking about the genie back in the bottle. They've never, can't think of an instance when they've done it back on console, but on PC they got rid of games for Windows Live. And I'm just thinking about like moments where Microsoft walks back on what they've done in the past in an obvious way. And they walked back the Xbox One launch to a degree.
One funny trend I call that I was alerted to is apparently after the release of Forza Motorsport last year, it was largely viewed as disappointing. Sales and prices, in fact, of the physical version of Forza Motorsport 7 went way up because that game's been delisted, can't buy it digitally, can't get it on any service. Forza Motorsport was considered a disappointment, and then everybody's like, well, I guess there was suddenly more demand for Forza 7 and people wanted to get it, and the only way to get it is the disc. If you didn't already own it digitally. So like
it's not
I thought that was
available
I thought that was funny. Just that path ended up occurring where it's like, oh, the price of that game is now going up a bit because of that, since they've so heavily moved away from discs in general.
Yeah, we'll see. Will there even be a disc Xbox version? Do you think?
Of what?
Of Call of Duty?
Although,
of course they will.
absolutely. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That's one. I don't think they're going to abandon the disc just yet. The only thing, though, is if the digital Xbox happens, and what if every Xbox on store shelves when this game ships is digital only?
Yeah, that would be a bit rough, wouldn't it?
Because that's Series S and
that becomes... That's a real
Well,
problem.
I'll tell you what. Remember the white all-digital Series X that looked just like the normal one? We still haven't seen that.
Yeah, what
That's
happened
true.
to that?
With the adorably all-digital, maybe it will be revealed at the showcase. Maybe it's been canned. Maybe they'll just carry on. I'm not sure they're going to just disregard a reduced version of an Xbox at this point. They need to reduce the cost.
To do it.
Yeah.
The Xbox showcase, obviously, we'll get to see Black Ops 6, so that it's got its own part of the show, developer _direct. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm just thinking more about the disc stuff, though. I really feel like, even though I know they want to get away from it, like I feel like it's not a good idea because for specific big games, there is a subset of the market I think that will still want to go disc. And I look at games like Grand Theft Auto 6. If you walk into a store and every copy's PlayStation 5, and that's
Mindshare.
There's not a single Xbox copy because there's no physical media. I do think that it actually will have an impact. It's not good for them.
Yeah, I guess but it's also tied into like consumer spending and where you go.
Oh,
We
I
just
know.
talked about earlier about malls dying.
No, I
in the
know, but
United
that's
States. That was funny.
That's not the case in Europe.
Yeah, not here. No, definitely not here. If you go in a store here, the line of the Sony branded GTA 6s is a huge mind share difference.
Yeah.
I think also at the showcase, we've got to surely see something happening on Games Pass with legacy Call of Duty games.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just
And it will
dropped a
be
bunch of Call of Duty
fantastic
games.
to see, you know, you were talking about the Infinite Warfare campaign. Infinite Warfare is one of those games that just
Underappreciated.
underappreciated and basically sort of was horrendously received at the time simply because of the concept that remember the boots on the ground debacle.
Yeah, oh my God. I was about
That
to
was a
say
great
that.
campaign. I really like all the
Dude,
campaigns.
I even played. That was one of the only years I actually played multiplayer as
Right.
well. Infinite Warfare. I thought this sci-fi twist to it really actually made it pretty fun. And for me, even as not a normal Call of Duty online player, I was really sad to see them move away from that. That was awesome.